because, one, it recognizes him as the greatest professional wrestler in the world. And I really believe that. Both Cash and I both believe that he is the greatest professional wrestler in the world. And why he's so good, man, I can't tell you why, I don't think anybody can tell you. And you hear about it all the time, and it is a real thing, but he has it.
Hi guys, Louis Dangoor here from WrestleTalk.com, and normally I like to leave a bit of time after interviewing someone to do the next one, but I interviewed FTR a couple of months ago, but a lot has changed since then, as I'm sure you can see from Dax's video footage there. I'm here with FTR, current AEW World Tag Team Champions. Guys, how are you? We'll start with you, Cash.
Oh, man, I'm great. I'm sitting out here right now. I'm about to go work out. One half of the AEW World Tag Team Champions, like you said. I mean, I can't complain. And I got coffee, so.
You do like your coffee. I think every interview I've seen you can tell you're much happier when you've got a coffee in your hand.
Oh, yeah. That's very, very true. Dangerously so.
How about you, how are you?
Not too bad. Sitting here in the mountains of North Carolina on top of a mountain, beautiful mountain. No power as Tropical Storm Zeta took over our land. So I just finished moving some trees and doing some man shit. But yeah, everything's great. Life is great. And like Cash said, we're the AEW World Tag Team Champions. So I guess we're the greatest tag team on the planet.
Well, I mean, we'll get on to talking about that, because I think certain match coming up that people have been talking about for a long time might have a say in who the greatest tag team are. But obviously, Dax, you're sat there with the AEW World Tag Team Championships, which is, I'm sure for you guys, a great accomplishment. For you, when you heard that this was in the plan, when you finally got those titles, what did it mean for you guys? So, Dax, I guess we'll start with you there, seeing as you're the one holding the title.
Yeah. Man, that match was the most important match of our career. That win was the most important most important win of our career. There's a lot of critics in professional wrestling, but I think I can say unequivocally there is no tag team division in the world that can match AEW's tag team division. And being at the pinnacle of AEW's tag team division, is a thrill for both Cash and myself. To be able to lead that and sit at the head of the table of AEW's tag team division is an awesome accomplishment for us. And that's what we wanted. We left our former home. We asked for it, like we talked to last time. We begged for our release, and this is what we wanted. We wanted to represent tag team wrestling and represent professional wrestling in a more suitable way for us. And right now, holding the AEW World Tag Team Champions, I don't think there's any more suitable way to represent tag team or professional wrestling.
For sure.
I was going to say, I presume you share in those assessments, Cash.
Yeah, like you said, it was the most important match and the most important win of our careers because we bet on ourselves. We walked away from everything, all these guarantees, everything. WWE obviously has been around longer than any other wrestling company in history. And, we'd worked our whole lives to be there. And then we willingly and kind of forcefully walked away from it. And you have a lot of expectations to live up to when you do that. And I think that you can see right there in Dax's screen that we've done that so far. And we're going to do everything we can to make sure that we keep doing that because that's what drives us.
And you guys are obviously tag team champions, and that was a very cool moment. But an equally cool moment, and I'm sure for you guys, being the old school wrestlers that you are, must have been the segments you've been involved in with Tully Blanchard and getting to hit the pile driver on Ricky Morton. How was that for you guys? Because I'm sure when you guys are growing up and when you guys are making your name in the business, that's probably something that you don't think will ever happen. So for you, Cash, how was that to be able to step in the ring with them and then hit the move on them?
Man, I mean, it's like you said, you never think as a kid that's going to happen. I remember watching Rock and Roll Express and the Brain Busters as a child. Never thought in a million years that, number one, I would make it to the top of professional wrestling, or number two, that some of these guys would still be around and still be involved, and that we'd have the honor and the privilege to pile drive Ricky Morton. I mean, not many people can say that, right? And not many people can say that they've gotten to sit under Tully Blanchard's learning tree and to pick his brain and to see things from his perspective. Man, it's just, we're obviously, we're a blend of an old school style, but we try to modernize it as much as we can to fit in today's wrestling world. And I think we've done that really well. And now we have guys like that can bridge the gap with us and that can be a little piece of history, but also help wrestling move forward.
Yeah, and I share the same sentiments, obviously. But that night was a super emotional night for us because those were two tag teams that defined a generation. You know, and on top of those guys were Heart Foundation and Midnight Express, you know, and a ton of others. But for the 80s, you know, Arn and Tully and the Rock and Roll Express defined a generation. And to be able to be in the ring with them alongside the Young Bucks and us being the two defining tag teams of our generation was very, very emotional. So I watched it back when I got home, and you know, I'd be remiss to tell you that I had tears in my eyes. It was very emotional for me. But pile driving Ricky Morton is something that we had to do. We're going to get over it any way we possibly can. And if pile driving one of our mentors, one of the guys we look up to, if that's how we're going to have to get over, that's what we'll do.
Yeah, not to go off on one of the tangents that we're famous for, but the night before all that happened, we saw Ricky Morton at the hotel, down at the restaurant, and we got to talk to him and just seeing how emotional he was and how thankful he was to still be doing what he's doing in the year 2020, and he's been doing it for so long, and he's still so passionate about it. Man, it felt good to see that, and then to pile drop him the next night.
Firstly, nothing wrong with your tangents. The passion when you guys talk about tag wrestling is infectious. So if you guys need to go on for the tangent, feel completely free. But so pile driving him must have been cool. But they're still wrestling. That's got to be a match. I know you guys have, and with the Brush of Greatness, which we'll get on to talking about, has been fantastic with putting over some of the lesser used teams or the younger teams. But that must be a dream match for you guys. That's got to be something on your checklist that you think, this putting over young teams is cool, but this is something for us that we really want to do.
Yeah, we've begged Tony. Both of us have begged multiple times to please book this match. And he's apprehensive, and he has a couple of reasons to be apprehensive. You know, there could be backlash from the internet saying, you know, these guys are you know, because of COVID, you know, maybe they're susceptible to the virus. So there is backlash, and there's reasons why he's not doing it yet. And I understand that. But man, FTR versus Rock and Roll is great on the marquee, but also the way that myself and Cash want to make people, I've talked about it all the time, but the way we want to make people feel, that match would help us make people feel a certain way. Because for whatever reason, maybe because he's one of the greatest of all time, but people feel a certain way about Ricky Morton. And, you know, same thing with Cash and I. They have a certain way they feel about us, whether good or bad. And that would help us evoke so much emotion that this and professional wrestling really needs. Because if we got a chance to beat on Ricky Morton, man, that would help our stock rise. Just the Spike pile driver rose our stock so much more than, you know, a year of having great matches, quote unquote, great matches. So that would just help us so much if we could ever get that done.
Yeah. Like you look at wrestling now, and like I said, there's some really good stuff out there, but there's very few things that evoke emotion like we feel like we could with Rock and Roll. You look at what Roman and Jay have been doing, and Jimmy too, man, it's magic. And they don't do a lot. They just evoke your emotions. And with the talent that Rock and Roll have and the connection they have with the crowd, they're one of those teams, one of the very few teams left that we feel like we could go out there and we could have the fans emotionally invested from start to finish and believing in every single thing that we did. And before it's all said and done, somehow, some way, we're going to get FTR versus R&R.
Man, I want to see it. You touched on there, Cash, about Jay, Jimmy, and Roman, the stuff they've been doing. Obviously, came to a head in a cell. Before we get on talking about Full Gear and the match, I think everyone's excited for with the Young Bucks. I wanted to touch on Randy Orton, someone that you guys have worked with closely, and I think off screen and from what we have heard, obviously off screen and on screen. So for you guys to obviously see him win the WWE Championship, how was that for you? And what is, I guess, so special about Randy Orton? And let's hear a bit about the relationship that you guys have with him.
Yeah, it was very cool to see him win the world championship again, because one, it recognizes him as the greatest professional wrestler in the world. And I really believe that. Both Cash and I both believe that he is the greatest professional wrestler in the world. And why he's so good, man, I can't tell you why, I don't think anybody can tell you. And you hear about it all the time, and it is a real thing, but he has it. I don't think he even knows how good he is or why he's. We would work these 6-man tags with him, on live events in 2019, and after the matches, he would praise us. We're like, dude, did you see what you did? You're Randy Orton, and he doesn't. He said, I wish I could work like you guys, and we're like, no, you do, you can. we everyone believes it. So finally having a year too late, FTRKO running the whole wrestling business, that's a pretty cool moment for us. And our relationship with him, we talk to him all the time through text. And, he's one of the guys that we miss a lot because he looked out for us. We tried to work hard for him, and we wanted to make things work for FTRKO, but, the chips didn't fall in place like we wanted.
Yeah, it's awesome to see Randy get, was it his 14th world title now? He's creeping up on the 16th. Because, the guy is only 40. He's been doing this literally half his life. And like you said, he is the best in the world, but he's so effortlessly good. He doesn't even know how good he is. He doesn't know how he does half of what he does. It just comes so natural to him. And it's, like you said, we've done the 6-man tags and we watched it, and it's just like, how does he move that easily? How does he get into place that smoothly? How does he get everything just right without even looking like he's trying? So to see the work he's done the past year, obviously Randy, when he's firing on all cylinders, is untouchable. And this past year he's been firing on all cylinders. So it's really cool to see him get recognized for that, because like Dak said, we honestly believe, and a lot of people believe, that he is the best wrestler in the world. There was just a small story. We did a live event sometime last December or so maybe, and we were backstage watching on a monitor, and Randy was working Ricochet, and it was just me, Dax, Sami Zayn, and Daniel Bryan, I think. And we're all just kind of standing around watching the match. Nobody's really saying anything. We're just kind of watching it go. And as soon as the match was over, I think Sami or Daniel, one of them turned and said, Randy Orton is maybe the best wrestler ever, right? And we're all like, yes. Everybody's thinking it, just because we're all watching the monitor, just blown away by how good he is. And then somebody finally says it, and it's like, yeah, he is maybe one of the best ever.
Wow, and the praise doesn't get much better than that. And you guys obviously had that, I guess, epiphany about Randy, watching that match, being like, wow, he could be one of the greatest. And talking about sort of perhaps people changing your perception or you realizing things, you guys have had some great matches with AEW, and especially with this sort of recent brush with greatness thing you've been doing, where people get the chance, I guess, lesser utilized teams get the chance to share the ring with you. So is that something that's been pushed from you guys? And has that been nice to see, and I guess nice for teams to prove themselves against the world champions? We'll start with you for that one, Cash.
Oh, that was actually the brainchild of Dax. So it's something that we've seen before that we wanted to bring today because it made sense. And we do, like you said earlier, AEW has the greatest tag team division in the world, and the depth is just stupid good. So it's hard to see some of these teams that are insanely talented not get a chance just because the depth is what it is. So we wanted to do something where we could showcase these guys, bring them up, and hopefully at the same time, bring our stock up, but also shine some light on them and to raise them and elevate them, because we've said it for years now. We want to elevate all of tag team wrestling, not just ourselves, but anybody we step in the ring with. We hope to, when the match is over, that people see them in a different light and that it's a positive one.
Yeah, Tully and I were sitting at dinner one night, and we kind of came up with the idea of of the 20-minute time limit concept. And the reason that we did is because two things. We wanted to make our matches seem more important on TV because, you know, every week you've got Raw, SmackDown, AEW, Dynamite, and NXT. Impact, yeah, you know, you've got all these just hours and hours of wrestling matches you're going to see. What can we do to make ours mean just a little bit more? And as tag team champions, we got to call our own shots, quote unquote. And so we started it with you know, when I first pitched it to Tony, it was with Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy. And the match was incredible. We loved that match. We worked so hard for that match. And both Cash and I are very proud of how that came off and what we accomplished in that match. But when we got to the back, you know, and, you know, we checked Twitter or whatever the next day, fans loved the match, but they buried us for not putting the titles on the line. So I said, you know what? Let's put the titles on the line next week. And so we did the Brush with the Greatness again. And Cash, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was with SCU.
I think, yeah, I believe so.
We put the belts on the line, and it was an awesome match. Maybe
my favorite since we've
here in AEW. And again, we came to the back, got on Twitter the next day. People put the match over. They loved it so much, but they were so mad because why they were complaining about SCU not being in the top 5, and we had explained it and said we're giving every tag team around the world an opportunity. So it was like they're going to complain about something. If we give them something different, complain. If we give them the exact same thing every week, they're going to complain. So at first it was kind of heartbreaking, not heartbreaking, but it was kind of frustrating for us because we're like, man, we're trying to give these fans something different. We love the matches we're giving them, but then they're still complaining about it. But yes, just like Cash said, I've just finished a Starbucks coffee as well. So that's why I'm talking so much. But just like Cash said, we did this to shine a light on tag team wrestling, the division, shine a light on some teams that haven't been featured, but also make our match seem just a little bit more important.
It's awesome. And I think you put out a tweet, I think, Dax, perhaps asking people for some suggestions of, I guess, independent tag teams.
Twitter
or tag
bitch
teams.
Acids, I believe he said.
I wasn't going to mention that one. I wasn't going to bring up that.
I got you.
You mentioned sort of some tag teams that people would suggest. Is that something in the works, I guess? Is it for AEW tag teams, or is it going to be something like Cody did with the TNT Championship, where we can expect to see, I guess, independent guys or guys that aren't able to work right now because of the pandemic and indie dates? Are we going to be seeing them on AEW?
So that's my idea. I was laying in on my couch with my wife the other day, and I was so frustrated just about just wrestling stuff, and like I get so emotionally involved in professional wrestling, almost to the point of being disgusted. But the reason that I did that was because I wanted to see what tag teams from around the world that we may not have heard of that we can bring into AEW and elevate its tag team division. And there were a ton of guys that were tagged in it, like Warhorse and
Danhausen, I think.
Danhausen, there you go. Yeah, sorry. Then there were some guys like Bear Country, and there were some guys called Air Raid. Was that their name?
Top Flight.
Top Flight, yeah. God dang. Yeah, Top Flight.
You're thinking of AJ Styles and Air Paris.
Yes, I am. God, that's like two. But Top Flight got an opportunity in AEW last week. And they got some great news, but they impressed. They impressed us. They impressed management. And they impressed, and most importantly, Tony. And so those are guys, tag teams like that, I want to give an opportunity here, and I'd love for them to get a chance with a brush of greatness. And if they can impress Tony and impress management, then maybe we have, we can have some sort of influence on helping the future of professional wrestling. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, we want to work with all these guys that have this potential that haven't had the chance to be spotlighted yet or haven't been discovered. Like you see Britt Baker's done a really good job helping find guys like Wardlow and the guy that just signed with NXT.
Ben Carter.
I know his name. Ben something, right?
Ben Carter.
Yeah. So she found him also. And it's just, you get this one opportunity, and if you do well, then who knows what it leads to. Like we were just saying, Top Flight, these guys, they're 21 years old and 19 years old. They're legitimate brothers. They came in and they impressed. They did what they do, and afterwards, it's how they handled themselves also that impressed everybody. They went around to everybody that, from Arn to Tully to Jake to Cody to Jerry Lynn to us to the Bucks, anybody they could find that watched their match and ask for advice because they want to get better and they want to do what it takes. They want to put in the work. And so you want to find guys like that. If you can find guys like that and help them get an opportunity, then we'll ask Twitter bitch asses all day.
Perfect. Guys, we got to talk about it. FTR, Young Bucks, Full Gear. When I spoke to you guys last, it was, I guess, an idea that people had. It was, oh, when's the match going to happen? Now we know it's going to happen. It's going to happen next weekend, Full Gear, November 7th. And for you guys, this must be, I mean, it's exciting for fans, but for you guys, it's been years in the making. Teasers of you being in another place and thinking this might not happen. And now it is happening. What is it? How does it feel for you guys? And has the build been what you thought it'd be, I guess? Because it's been something that I'm sure you guys, even when you were with WWE, were probably thinking, how would this go if we booked it? How would it go if the pieces did sort of fall into place? So is it what you envisioned it to be? I guess we'll start with you for that one, Dax.
So I put out a tweet yesterday about how emotional and how important this match was to us. It's the most important match of our career, and I hate that we're not going to have a full stadium. We will have a lot of fans there, but we're not going to have a full stadium. But it is the most important match of our career, and a defining match in tag team wrestling. And I'm saying that as humbly as I possibly can. We begged for 2 years for our release from WWE. And I'm not saying that with any bitterness. We begged for our release from WWE because of this match. The fans had always compared the two teams, contrasted the two teams, and wondered who was the best tag team in the world today, Young Bucks or FTR. And we knew that we had to have this match. We knew to be able to cement our legacy and continue to build our legacy. Go down as one of the greatest tag teams in history, we had to have this match, and we had to prove to the fans, to ourselves, to the Young Bucks, that we were the best. So this match is going to be a match that I'm too emotionally invested in, way too emotionally invested in. So that goes into your second part of the question, the build. Am I happy with the build? I think the build to this match could be a little bit better. Obviously, when you're an artist, you think that your piece is the most important piece in the whole museum. And I do believe that, and I don't know if that comes off selfish or not, but we believe that our piece in this AEW art is the most important art in the museum at Full Gear. So the build, I feel the build could have been a little bit better. I feel that we could have had a little more time devoted to this match and to make it a little more special. But with everything that is given to us, we all four put every ounce of effort into these next few weeks of building to make sure that it's just as important as we want it to come off. We want just as important as the fans had hoped it to be. And I think that at Full Gear, you're going to see quite possibly the greatest tag team match of all time, because the four of us want to go out there and prove to each other, kind of like we did with American Alpha, but we want to prove, each team wants to prove to the other team that they're the best. And right now, as you can see, I'm sitting here with AEW World Tag Team Champions, and I'm not saying this in kayfabe land. I'm not saying this in some kind of stupid character. I'm telling you right now, not only because we have the World Tag Team Championships, but I absolutely firmly believe that there is no better tag team in this world right now, of this generation, than Cash. So this match is super important to us. I wish the build could have been a little bit better, but I'll tell you this, the next few months should be fun.
Yeah, like it's kind of surreal. I don't know if like it has set in for me, but I don't think it's really like sank in yet that it's less than 2 weeks away. It's what, 8 days away right now? Like that's crazy to me, because like I have like this tension in me, like this anxiety, this energy that's just, I haven't felt this probably since the American Alpha stuff, the DIY stuff, just because, man, like we hope that this lives up to the expectations that we have for it, that the fans have for it, because we have dreamed about being the best tag team in the world and proving it to the point where nobody can ever deny that, can argue that, can dispute that. And this match, we hope, could be a defining match for tag team wrestling for our generation. You know, you have teams like Midnights and Rock and Roll that had their defining story that kind of defined that generation. You have the Hart Foundation and the Rockers, and you have Edge and Christian and the Hardys, and all these teams. Every decade or so, there's a tag team story that comes along that kind of defines where that tag team division is at. And we're hoping that this is it, that we're half of this equation. So man, like we're gonna give everything we have. Like I don't see either one of us.
Yeah, sorry. No,
you're
sorry.
good.
That for so long, you and I've talked about it. For so long, professional wrestling has kind of bastardized tag team wrestling, and it's been put on the back burner. We're hoping that this isn't the pinnacle of tag team wrestling. We hope it is the beginning of a build for tag team wrestling again, to show how important tag team wrestling is, to show how what an integral part of professional wrestling this can be.
Yeah. So like to get to your question, like the build hasn't been exactly what I hoped it would be, and maybe we won't main event Full Gear, but we're gonna guarantee that nobody on that show can follow us after that, and that there's nothing left standing. That those fans are going to be so spent, that people watching at home are going to be so exhausted, that we're going to be on our last legs, that people know without a shadow of a doubt they've seen the best tag team match they're ever going to see. And who knows what happens? Who knows what's going to happen, because they are good. They're really, really good. There's no taking away that. We respect them. We have that, like Dax was saying, we have that competitiveness with them, even though we've never stepped in the ring with them before, where we just know that we're all going to go out there and try to outdo the other, and that's what makes magic.
And I think you mentioned the main event thing, and I know it might be biased because I think as we found out last time, you are my favorite tag team. It's not the North, it is you guys. But you guys should main event, and as you said, because this match, while Omega and Page, for example, might have been built for a long time, it's been sort of a year-ish in the making. This has been teased for 4 years since that tweet, and I think that there's no better match to, I guess, put tag team wrestling over, to really show what tag team wrestling means, than this match with the Young Bucks. So I guess a final thought for you guys anyway, what would be the one thing that people should go into the match expecting? Is there anything that you guys think, this is something, if you watch this match, this is what you should expect, basically? Or do you think people should go in an open mind, just sit there and enjoy the, I guess, spectacle that you guys are going to put on?
We've talked about it amongst ourselves, Dax and I, and we referred to this match as our love letter to tag team wrestling. So we're going to put every ounce of energy we have, every bit of creative juices that we have, every bit of actual energy and life in our body into making this match what we think it should be. And the fans might try to dictate that. They might want a certain spectacle, but this is going to be our ride, and we're going to take them along with it. And I think at the end of it, it's going to exceed their expectations somehow.
Yeah, I would love if every single fan in the world could go in with an open mind, because that's what made me a fan when I was a little kid, even into, teenage years and stuff, was I went into wrestling with an open mind and just enjoyed it. And if I didn't enjoy it, I just didn't watch it. And I hope that's what they can do this time, is go in with an open mind and just understand that there's going to be 4 guys who are putting their bodies on the line to entertain the fans, but also to prove a point which tag team is the greatest tag team. But it is 2020, so I understand the realization that people are not going to go in with an open mind. They're going to go in with a critical mind, and that's okay too. I will let you know that it will not be a match like you saw at Revolution. It's not going to be Omega and Page against the Young Bucks. That's not our style. That's not how we work. But it will be my plan is to make it the most emotional American tag team wrestling match that you've ever seen. That's our game plan. And if we live up to it, we live up to it. If we don't, damn, we almost tried doing it.
I guess if there are two teams that you want to put on the most emotional match in America for tag team wrestling, probably doesn't get much better than the Young Bucks and FTR. So, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you. Full Gear, obviously, on Fight Network in all markets outside of the US and on pay-per-view in the States. It is, your guys' matches is a particularly exciting one, but the card is stacked. We've got Paige and Omega, as we discussed. We've got the I Quit match between Moxie and Eddie Kingston. The card is really, really stacked with great matches. So I think you guys will just be, hopefully, for me, the main event, but a part of what should be a fantastic night of wrestling. So if you guys are watching at home, aren't planning on watching Full Gear, you definitely should be, because it has the potential to be, for me, probably the pay-per-view of the year.
It is a stacked card. Yeah, it's the stacked card. And like we said earlier, if we're not the main event, whoever goes on after us is going to be wrestling in Rumble, because we're tearing that bitch down.
Perfect, guys. Really enjoy chatting to you, and hopefully we'll speak after Full Gear, and you'll still have that title, Dax, and hopefully we'll get the title around you, Cash, and we can see you both with the titles. That'd be perfect.
Yeah,
Thanks, guys.
We will.